ANC members under the banner of Kgalema Disputed NEC list have approached the courts to challenge the party's branch nomination list. They filed an urgent court application in the High Court in Johannesburg to compel the ANC to provide raw data of all branch nominations for the NEC additionals. They want the matter to be heard by the court on Wednesday. If the data is not made available by the start of the ANC National Conference on Friday, they want the matter to be placed on the agenda of the said conference and for it to be heard by plenary before the election of officials. Last week, the group wrote to the ANC's Electoral Committee objecting to the NEC list that was announced. In its response, the Electoral Committee said their objections were unfortunate as they're based on a misunderstanding of the ANC's constitution. The group then escalated the matter to party Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, requesting that their objections be discussed at the NEC meeting. Well, for more, I'm joined by SABC News political reporter Natasha Phiri, who is here to elaborate on the story. So, this is an interesting development. What are their chances of success in court? I know you're not a legal person, but what do you think their chances are?
Thank you so much, Nombu, and of course to our SABC viewers. I think we'll just have to wait and see, but this is a story that we have been following quite closely as the SABC. Last week, this group had a media briefing, and they had indicated to members of the media that they wrote to the Electoral Committee of the ANC, just raising their objections and their dissatisfaction over the process. The Electoral Committee then wrote back to them saying that their claims are unsubstantiated and they don't understand the ANC constitution. They then further escalated their matter to the ANC. Remember, the ANC NEC actually said last week, they wrote a letter to Paul Mashatile, the Treasurer General of the ANC, asking that this matter actually be dealt with in the NEC. That wasn't the case. We heard Buloy lashing out at them and lambasting them. And they then, was stuck true to their word and actually escalated their matter to the courts. They went to South Gauteng High Court to actually hear the matter this coming Wednesday. But Nompu, they aren't the only ones that have actually objected, to the processes and the nomination processes of the ANC, especially the Electoral Committee. We saw the likes of Lindiwe Sisulu. Remember, she said the data that she had does not corroborate. Thank you. With the data of the Electoral Committee, she says that she did not receive 66 nominations. We also then saw the campaign manager of David Mabuza and Buloy. He was here in studio also claiming the same thing. So you've got just a number of people actually raising their dissatisfaction over the nomination process. Earlier last week, we saw those letters being handed out to former ANC Women's League President Bathabile Dlamini, as well as the ANC NEC member Tony Yengeni as well, notifying them that they've been disqualified because they were found that there were serious crimes against them. So these are just some of the issues. But what this group is also then saying is that they don't trust the nomination processes of the Electoral Committee. They are flawed in that, before you actually announce those members or those candidates who had received nominations for the NEC additionals, the vetting process needs to happen before. So in this case, they claim that the vetting process happened afterwards. And then a case in point would be Bathabile Dlamini and Tony Yengeni, because how could you announce the names of these candidates, then serve them with disqualification, letters? So these are just some of the bones of contention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if, say, they are able to put the cat among the pigeons and they do actually win in court, what then happens? I mean, the NEC elective conference is a few days away.
It could be very detrimental, Nombu. It could be very detrimental for the party because, honestly, like you're saying, we are days away. Conference is actually on Friday. So what really happens then, And one other grievance that these members have been raising is that, Nompu, they haven't released the raw data that they've been asking for. Right. So just speaking to Chief Matsela, who's the secretary of the Electoral Committee, he had said that, no, he had given them raw data. But speaking to this group again, it's not the raw data that actually they had requested. They want the branch nominations to be actually revealed in full. So they're not happy. So I guess it's probably going to be a showdown in the courts. We have yet to speak to the ANC on this matter. We hope they'll actually comment. But just speaking to the national spokesperson on Friday, Buloy was not happy, asking asking why they actually had to group themselves as ANC members. He also said that these people are not even REC members, they're not even PEC members, just normal ANC members. But I mean, in their defense, they've been saying, as ordinary ANC members, you know, things need to be done in transparency.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you reflect on your sort of political journalist career and, you know, the history that you know about the ANC processes and this time, this every 5-year situation, how do you think that this is an unprecedented situation? And does it also give us a sense, symbolize how contested the terrain is? And that's why this is all happening.
Well, it's quite different this year. I mean, just speaking to the likes of Sia, who's a part of this group, he had said that they don't know this process of, you know, the electoral committee. Remember, the electoral committee was actually elected, and of course, the ANC NEC then passed, you know, these resolutions or these rules of the electoral committee. But I mean, you speak to these ANC members, and what they're saying is that what they know are, you know, PGCs. They've never had this before. And I mean, if so many grievances are being aired out now, it really is somewhat concerning. So I just hope that the electoral committee will just, I know that Chief Matsela will be coming here at 1:30. He'll be clarifying some issues. Let's just hope that they actually take them into confidence with this matter, because also this group is saying that they've sought audience with the electoral committee, but they say that the electoral committee was, you know, unsatisfactory in their response. They were quite arrogant when responding to them. So these are some of the issues that they also raised. They've also asked the secretary of the electoral committee to recuse himself from this process, that being Chief Matsela. They've questioned his close relations with ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. So these are just some of the issues that are coming out. Of course, he will be coming here to studio later on. Hopefully, he'll be able to clarify some of these issues.
Yeah. Now, of course, you guys have been covering, you know, the lead up to the NEC elective conference, the ANC NEC elective conference. And of course, you've been doing it so professionally, so diligently and so on. But for you as a journalist, as we get towards that time, what are the key things that you're going to be looking at and that excite you, you know, about this coming weekend?
It's not only the election of leaders, Nombo, it's really about the policies, you know, of the party as well, because that really affects a lot of South Africans. And I think despite it looking at who will be the next president of the ANC, whether Cyril Ramaphosa will stay, the policies are actually, you know, where members of the media and the public should actually be looking out for. Because time and time again, we always talk about this issue that the ANC may have good policies on paper, but it's a lack of implementation. Also, it's concerning who they deploy to certain areas. You know, I mean, we've got the issue of ESCOM, which is really, really impacting the lives and the livelihoods of South Africans. And you have people, South Africans, also ordinary ANC members. You would remember the ANC Policy Conference, where some ANC members, like the likes of Sizopila Mkhize, have been saying, but listen, it's high time we deploy the right people, you know, to these areas. And if we don't deploy the right people, if actually we do deploy the right people, but they're not held accountable, really heads really must roll when it comes to these issues.
But you know, what you say is so critical, but there is always that problem that generally mainstream media, and that would probably include us as well, is that we're more focused on the leaders than the policy, and actually holding the leadership to account on the policy. How are we going to ensure that that changes? Because ultimately, you know, the leaders are neither here nor there. It's the implementation of that policy to impact the lives of people.
And hopefully this is something that's going to change. I mean, with this policy conference, in the build-up to the policy conference, if you've looked at the provincial, you know, conferences of the ANC, I remember the former Gauteng chair of the ANC, David Makhura, had said that, listen, it's high time we focus on the policies of the party first instead of the election. Yes, it's good. It's all well and good to elect our leaders. But I mean, we are facing a time where, you know, South Africa is at a crossroads. You've got problems with our SOEs, high unemployment rates, all these other issues. It's time we put the electorate first. It's time we put South Africans first. Focus on the policies of the party, then the election of, you know, these ANC leaders. So hopefully this is going to be something that the ANC actually takes into stock. So I guess we'll have to see from the 16th.
Like you say, let's wait and see. Thanks, Natasha Phiri.